Nick, it feels like your Necrons haven't won against Richard's Orcs for a while now. Well, you are correct. I have a problem, and today we're going to discuss how I'm going to solve it. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
And Richard is playing his Orcs today, aren't you, Rich?
Yeah, Orcs again. I love my Orcs.
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. So, I have a problem. I can't beat Richard's Goth Orc pressure list. Actually, to be fair, since he got the new Orc Codex for 9th edition, I've hardly won a game. It really does seem like I have a problem. However, I've been learning a lot over all of these losses, and not only that, over my gaming experience for the last 20 years, and today I want to share some of this information and hope that it might help you. Because losing every week or every game that you play, well, it's not very nice, it's frustrating, it's disheartening, and it can even make you want to give up this fantastic hobby of ours. But what I can tell you is that winning every game that you play, well, that isn't much fun either. And I know because I've been there. As many of you know, I used to play against my friend and his Blood Angels quite a lot. Necrons versus Blood Angels was pretty much always the theme of my battle reports, and pretty much every single one of them I won. This wasn't always the case. When we first started back in 3rd edition and then 4th edition, our games were pretty even on the table. We had a lot of fun, and to be fair, probably the most fun times I've had with 40k, because, well, we didn't know about the optimal units. We didn't know what was best on the table. We just picked units from our codex, the units that we had painted or the units that we wanted to play, and then we used to play some games. We had a lot of fun, and it wasn't about winning. However, when 5th edition came around, I decided to get a new army, and I was playing Eldar. Now, Eldar have a massive learning curve. They're very different from Necrons and indeed Space Wolves, which I was also playing at the time. They were a finesse army. You really had to know what you were doing on the table. And at the time, you could do wound allocation. You could spread the wounds around the units and just keep everything alive. I struggled with my Eldar to play a half-decent game. I struggled to win, and I went months and months of just losing, and I got very disheartened, and I ended up looking to the internet to see if I could improve my game. And that's when everything changed. I found a channel called Wargamer Fritz. There's a link to it in the description below. If you haven't heard of him, definitely go and check him out. And he had some Eldar tactical videos up, and I watched them all, and I studied how to play Eldar. I studied how to win the mission. Fritz also had some Tyranid tactical videos on his channel, and I was playing Tyranids by this time, and I just elevated my gaming skills from basically studying around this time. And as I said, this was in 5th edition, and the Necron Codex was just about to be updated, and then we moved into 6th, 7th and 8th edition, and this was the era where I didn't really lose a game. Now, I'm not saying that I was some sort of 40k guru who knew everything about it, but I'd certainly moved on above my buddy's ability. So the games became one-sided. I tried everything to even up the games. I even done a bingo list where I randomly selected my Necron units. I took lists specifically to be the weakest that I could make them, to give my buddy some chance on the table, and I was still winning. It was frustrating winning every week. I didn't actually enjoy it. Those closer games were much better. However, that was the situation within my very small gaming group. But because I had the YouTube channel, I was able to play a few extra opponents that were on YouTube. I played Ace, who is a tournament player, came to my house, we had a game, and I started to grow in confidence that actually I'm not too bad at this game. So I decided to go to a tournament, and it was at this tournament that I met my current gaming buddy, Richard from CM Wargames. There's a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. So I met Richard at this tournament and we got chatting, we became friends on Facebook, and then we played a few games, and now Richard is my main gaming buddy. He's the player that I play every week, and well, things are different now. Richard is a tournament player. Although I met him at a tournament, I'm not a tournament player. I've played in a couple of tournaments just to experience them. I'm a basement gamer. I play at home with my friends, and that's what I enjoy. However, Richard enjoys making the most nastiest list that he can to try to compete at a tournament and do his best there. So yeah, things are a lot different. I've learnt a lot from Richard in regards to tactical play. I mean, he's a great player. I've got a lot of experience with my army. I could hold my own, and with the extra tactical play that I've learnt playing Richard, my game's definitely improved. However, since the new Orc Codex come out, I have been struggling. I mean, really struggling to beat his army, because he plays this list. It's called the Orc Goth Pressure list. It's a horrible list. It's really fast, it's really good at shooting, it's really good at the assault, it's got some nasty psychic powers, and I'm struggling to beat it. Now, losing isn't an issue for me. I don't mind losing. However, I run a Necron dedicated YouTube channel. I want people to come to this channel to learn how to play Necrons. And if they're watching me lose every week, that's not great. And especially when I get comments like this. You're not the best source for tactical information. You're not building tournament winning lists. And as you can see from my reply, I'm not a tournament player, so I'm not at the top level, but I know many beginners look to me for tactics and ideas for their basement type games. And that is the thing. How can I be seen as a Necron channel for people to come and learn about Necrons when I'm losing every game? The thing is, a little bit like with me and my buddy in the past, Richard and I are two different players. Richard goes to tournaments, he makes the nastiest lists that he can. He's aiming to win the game in 1 or 2 turns. He's very aggressive with his orcs, and the orcs suit his play style. I'm more of a themed list builder. I like to win, of course. Who doesn't? But I like the thematic side of the game. I like to build a list which is themed but has a chance on the table. But I do feel like I'm caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. I want to test Richard, I want to test his skills and prepare him for these tournaments so that he can do his best at the events. I haven't been playing ultra competitive Necron lists, but I've definitely upped my game in terms of the competitive side of the game. But I'm still putting a twist on my lists as well, because I'm trying to hold on to myself as well as play this sort of more competitive type game. And even though I haven't been winning, when I look back at the games, well, it's not as bad as it looks. Today I'm here with Richard for another battle report. It's Necrons versus Orcs, and it's coming right up.
Necrons!
The game's over. Let's have a quick look at the score. I think Richard might be happy, but it's not a runaway. 88 points for the Orcs and 70 for the Necrons. So very close. However, Richard has won. It's 79 points to 75 points. 28 points for my secondaries, plus painted. 60 points. So actually only a 20 points swing. So 58 to 72, 14 points difference.
Yeah.
Richard, what is the final score?
Well, it's 88 to the Orcs to 82 to the
Whoa, so
Necrons.
close.
Very close.
Yes, I am losing, but the games are pretty close. I'm holding my own. More importantly, though, I'm learning. Let's look at my last battle report, for example, where I played 2 sets of my Dominion War list, 2 patrol detachments. This was just an experiment list so that I could get a feel for how I could expand my 1,000 point army to 2,000 points. And I really did learn a lot from that one game. I needed more shooting in the list. I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough long range shooting, and my shooting wasn't accurate enough. I need more. My will be done. The Canoptic Spiders are great. However, they can't be your main thing in the list. They've got to be a secondary thing. I need something bigger in the list so that the spiders are not the priority targets. I needed to change my protocol order. I had +1 to strength turn 2. I need that on turn 3. Turn 2 needs to be fall back and shoot. I learnt all of these things from the game, and I was building a list around these things for my spider list, and well, it got me thinking about a new list, a list which incorporates what I'd learnt from this spider list but not actually including spiders. And I think this list and how I'm going to play this list is hopefully going to finally beat this orc pressure list. So let's have a look at what I came up with. I need to beat this orc goth pressure list, not only for my own insanity, but well, I want to be seen as a Necron player that can win on the channel. So if you can't beat them, join them. So heading up my force is the Silent King. If you want to be competitive, then the Silent King is almost an auto include. I'm going to use his Warlord trait so that I could have 2 protocols in a row, and that will be +1 to strength on turn 2 and 3. So if I'm going to have the Silent King, I'm going to be taking Code of Combat as my secondary objective, and that means I'm going to be taking a Catacomb Command Barge to back up the King. In case the King goes down quickly, I've got another unit that can get those points. I'm going to have the Voltic Staff on the Command Barge as well because it's a really good relic. Now, if I'm going to beat this orc pressure list, I'm going to need the Nightbringer. Richard plays Thraka, and I'm struggling with Thraka. The best I can do is take him out in 2 turns, and I really need to deal with him much better than that. Plus, even if the Nightbringer isn't up against Thraka, Richard has lots of horrible units in his list, including a really nasty kill rig, copters. He's got some death killer dreads, whatever they're called. It's horrible. And the Nightbringer with the Silent King is a given. Right, heavy support, and I know what you're thinking. Hey, 3 units of 3 heavy destroyers. I've been playing heavy destroyers a lot recently, and I have to say, probably mainly down to my dice rolling. All in. Strength 10, so it'd be 3s again. And I get 3 2s. Can I go home yet? I haven't been impressed with heavy destroyers. They just don't do the business for me, so I'm going to revert back to Doomsday Arcs. Doomsday Arcs, they are very random and they don't do as much damage as the heavy destroyers, but on a flip side, they are definitely more survivable. And what I find is Richard ignores Doomsday Arcs quite a lot because he doesn't see them as much of a threat compared to heavy destroyers. When I have heavy destroyers, Richard targets them all the time. When I have Doomsday Arcs, he tends to ignore them a lot. So I think Doomsday Arcs on the whole would do better for me. So 2 Doomsday Arcs, and I'm going to take an Outrider detachment because I'm going to make full use of fast attack. I'm going to be objective secure and a pre-game move because, well, they tend to be the best options. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. So in my list is 2 units of 5 Wraiths. Now I know what you're thinking. Nick, if you want to be really competitive, you should be playing Scorpec Destroyers because they do the most damage. And I agree, they do the most damage. However, I find they fold like paper. Well, against Richard they do anyway. Even if I have the Chronomancer and the 5+ invulnerable save, they fold. I did seriously consider using a Night Scythe so that I could get them into combat straight away. I could potentially use the Bed of Darkness, but ultimately I went for the Wraiths instead because that 4+ save is just too good to not have. They've got the speed, moving a whopping 12 inches, and of course they can fall back and re-assault, which is really good for helping with their assault because you can fall back in your move, re-assault, and then you get to strike first. So really, really good. Yes, the damage output isn't that great, and you can see from the list here, I've taken whip coils with these rather than the claws. And the reason for that is Richard has a lot of ramshackle on his units, which basically means the damage of 2 is reduced to damage 1. So whilst they are strength 6 and I can wound easier, well, the damage just isn't that great. So I think whip coils, which would give me a lot of attacks, if I have the king nearby, I can re-roll the wounds. I think they might fare better. And of course, I'm going to have the +1 to strength protocol in action in turn 2 and 3. So they will be strength 5, and potentially I could make one unit strength 6 with a stratagem. Now my all game protocol is going to be to do actions and shoot, because I'm going to be taking ancient machineries, and some of the missions of course do actions in the game as well. So I think that's going to be my all game protocol. Next, it's 3 units of scarabs. I've got 2 units of 6 and 1 unit of 7. It's just the way the points worked out. And whilst the scarabs will give up easy no prisoner points for Richard, because he always takes those against me, I think the scarabs are going to be worth it. Now, my plan here is to use the scarabs in several ways, but ultimately one of the scarab units is going to be around the Nightbringer to give him some protection, and the other 2 scarab units are going to be pushing forward onto objectives, or at least they may do that. Okay, so lastly, I put in some Ophidian Destroyers. What? Ophidian Destroyers? They fold like paper. Well, yes, but there's a few reasons here. 1, I've painted the miniatures and I haven't played them yet. 2, I needed a deep strike unit. I need that distraction unit, and that's all these Ophidians are for. They're just a distraction unit. It doesn't matter if they get killed. 3, if I do get them down and into assault, they're going to be pretty nasty. So I think the Ophidian Destroyers match this list well, and it means I'm filling up all 6 slots in my Outrider detachment. My secondary objectives are definitely going to be Code of Combat. I'm more than likely going to take Treasures of Eons and Ancient Machineries. Purge the Vermin, although it is very good, I don't think it's the best against orcs because Richard has so many units, he's very, very fast, and it's hard to take points when he's in every quarter. Now tactically, I have worked out that I've been far too aggressive with my Necrons because Richard is very aggressive, and I feel like I need to be aggressive to counter him. I mean, turn 1, he's in the middle of the table, if not in assault. He controls the table. So if I get first turn, or indeed if I've got my pre-game move, I feel I have to go forward. I have to take control of the land as much as I can. However, I think this plays into Richard's army more than it plays into my army. And going forward, I'm not going to be as aggressive because I think in my head I was thinking, go forward, get as many points as I can at the beginning of the game and hope that I have enough points to win. That isn't how I'm going to play this list. I'm going to play this list not aggressive at all. Actually, I'm planning on moving backwards with my army if I don't have first turn. The Scarabs may move forward onto objectives, almost sort of tease Richard into the middle of the table, but without getting him into my back lines, because there's going to be a bigger distance between the two. I might even move my scarabs back as well. I'm not going to try to get as many points at the beginning of the game as I can, because it's not working for me. What I've noticed is if you're around on the table, there's plenty of time to get points. I mean, you only need 15 points for each one of the categories. You can do that in sort of 3 turns. So arguably you don't have to start scoring until turn 3. Turn 3, 4 and 5 is enough to get some good amount of points if you're still alive. Now Richard has waves in his list. He has like a first wave and a second wave and sometimes a third wave. And what I need to do is I need to control his waves. If I move forward, all of his waves come into me all at sort of one time. If I stand back, then his faster units will come in first. And then I have to deal with them, admittedly. But I think I've got enough power in this list to deal with a wave. And then I'll hold back and let the next wave come in. I'm going to whittle his army down that way, so that I'm in a position for those later turns to start moving out and getting my points. That's how I plan to beat this Goth pressure list. But can I do it? Well, I can tell you, you won't have to wait long, because my next video is going to be a battle report of me playing this list. Can I do it? Well, subscribe to find out. In the meantime, why not check out my 9th edition Battle Report playlist.